Man, I am so upset about this. This is really disappointing news. We were making so much progress. We had about 70% of the country backing the Democrats on this endeavor to force the Republicans into a situation where, in order to keep Americans from suffering, they would have to manually approve programs that millions of Americans benefit from every day. And that the Republicans were completely unwilling to manually approve these programs that are normally a given, automatic if anything, demonstrated where they actually stand. They can talk a big game about how much they care about the working class American, and their immigration or economic tariff policy is all about helping the average American and bringing manufacturing jobs back to America. But in reality, it's all just meant to help them. It's all just lies meant to get votes. That's all they want. They'll lie and say whatever they need to get the votes. And this proved that. Because if the Republicans actually cared about the American people as much as they said they did, they would, obviously, approve things like SNAP. They would approve SNAP emergency funding. They would, frankly, have already caved in to the Dems' demands and not defunded the ACA. Because of the Republicans, we were going to see, and will now see, unfortunately, millions of Americans see their healthcare premiums triple, quadruple, in some cases potentially quintuple. It's very bad. The Democrats, most of them, and when I say most, I mean the vast majority of them. I do want to give props. The vast majority of Democrats held out for a long-ass time. They understood the assignment. And this shutdown, it was actually achieving some serious good. Americans were pretty quickly dropping favor for Trump as he repeatedly publicly refused to provide funding to the programs that Americans wanted funded. And then 8 Democrats, 8 of the worst Democrats, caved. A lot of people have speculated these Democrats might have been paid off. It's possible. I genuinely think they might just also suck. I think that they are Democrats that were run where they were because they were pretty red areas, purplish areas, and they were always kind of Republicans on the Democratic Party. Some of them, such as Fetterman, grifters, who pretended to be progressive, got the progressive vote in a progressive area, and then proceeded to become a borderline Republican while holding that blue seat. Fuck Fetterman. Fuck these Democratic senators. I am so mad. I hope they get primaried. Everybody is hoping they get primaried now. They have basically, counterintuitively, they have either taken a payout in exchange for, well, he did have a stroke. Don't make excuses for it. Fetterman having a stroke did not just happen to make him evil. No one has a stroke and then becomes the exact opposite of who they were before in every single way. You know, I don't think the stroke damaged his brain so badly it reversed his politics like a magnet switching polarity. But anyway, Bernie Sanders has come out to roast these 8 Democrats, explain why what they did was pussy shit. They're pussies. I don't know what else to say. I'm just saying it out loud. It's what everyone wants to know. These Democrats were either hacks, sellouts and shills, or pussies. Or all of the above. And if there are any of those things, they need to be primaried and removed. I'm often one who's like not super focused on shitting on the Democrats because I think the Republicans deserve it so much more. And there's only so much breath I have in my lungs to express dislike of certain groups, and my hate for the Republicans dwarfs my hate for Democrats by so much that it makes no sense for me to waste much of any time shitting on Democrats, because I hate the Republicans that much. But in this case, these 8 Democrats, they have demonstrated so clearly they are not capable of understanding the assignment. They are not capable of recognizing the problem and saying, okay, this is how we're going to solve it, along with the rest of the Democratic Party. They are more or less just Republicans with the name Democrat. And while I normally don't agree with that criticism about a lot of people in the Democratic Party, today, I do. Because this is a time where the whole rest of the Democratic Party is unified, and these 8 motherfuckers, these dinos, these Democrats in name only, they're the ones who folded. 8 of them. 8. These are the bad apples of the Democratic Party. 99% of your negative associations as a progressive you'll have with the Democrats are because of these 8 Democrats. Now, when we hear their names in a moment, I already mentioned Fetterman. When we hear their names in a moment, I have a feeling you're going to have several negative associations with each and every one of them. Yeah, they're literally the hateful 8.
8 Democrats voted with the Republicans to allow them to go forward on this continuing resolution. And to my mind, this was a very, very bad vote. What it does, first of all, is it raises healthcare premiums for over 20 million Americans by doubling, and in some cases tripling or quadrupling. People can't afford that when we are already paying the highest prices in the world for healthcare.
I'm going to be honest, as terrible as this news is that this is what's going to end up happening, has there ever been a better opportunity? Like, let's not get too doomer about this, all right? As bad as things are, we do not doomer. We immediately take it on the chin and start thinking of how we can hit back harder. And I just realized a good way the left can hit back harder. Healthcare has to be the biggest wedge issue the Democrats win on unequivocally every time. Let's be real. The Democrats just win when it comes to providing healthcare to Americans. When Americans can't afford healthcare and Democrats are promising it after the Republicans blatantly take it away, that is a setup with which the Democrats can definitely pull out some pretty big wins. And not just Democrats like these 8 assholes, but I mean like Mamdani, Bernie, AOC style Democrats, the progressives who will run on a policy of expanding free healthcare for Americans, or at least affordable healthcare, or a public option. I mean, even Buttigieg is more progressive than any of the Democrats who voted no on this. Like, Buttigieg is in favor of a public option. Like, he's closer to Bernie than these Democrats were. Like, the 8 motherfuckers we're talking about here, these are the guys we need to, like, oust from the party.
Number 2, it paves the way for 15 million people to be thrown off of Medicaid and the Affordable Care Act. Studies show that will mean that some 50,000 Americans will die every year unnecessarily. And all of that was done to give $1 trillion in tax breaks to the 1%. As everybody knows, just on Tuesday,
I mean, this kind of problem, to be fair, is exactly the kind of thing that progressive politicians can use to run on. Before we get any deeper into this, if you end up liking my coverage, consider leaving a like, a comment down below, hype the video to boost it so more people end up seeing it. Really helps the channel too, and I appreciate it. And subscribe if you want to see more. Anyway, we'll continue, but I want to talk about how Democrats have utilized... I mean, Bernie Sanders was the biggest he ever was when healthcare was one of the biggest talking points in politics. It's taken a big back seat, but I think it's about to take the front seat again. I think healthcare is going to be riding shotgun as one of the most important wedge issues in politics in the coming years, and progressive Democrats, the next, like, Zohran Mamdani, for instance, they are going to be able to use this situation to not just pull support away from Republicans, but pull support towards, in the primaries, towards a progressive Democrat who will run on a free healthcare policy, who will run on expanding SNAP, like things like this. This is, as bad as it is, and call it copium if you will, we can turn this into a W. Not right away, but in the long run, it can become a W. Think of it this way. Trump's victory in this last election, if it leads to an utter colossal failure for the Republican Party to recover after how much they get humiliated over the next 4 years, at the end of the day, it'd be like, well, I wish my past self knew that, so I could have something to look forward to when things look so doomer. I'm thinking that way right now. There is going to be some kind of not trickle down, but some sort of cascading outcome because of what's happening here that will be good in the end. We will be able to turn it into a W down the road. So try not to doomer too hard. As much as this sucks, we're going to turn this into a W eventually. We just will. We're the left. We always do. The opposition of the left being evil has always been the best thing we've used as a weapon against our opposition to actually achieve victories in the end. Let's continue, though.
We had an election all over this country. And what the election showed is that the American people want us to stand up to Trumpism. to his war against working class people, to his authoritarianism. That is what the American people wanted, but tonight, that is not what happened. So we've got to go forward.
I swear I heard something. There's someone in my house I gotta kill? Okay. I heard something. I swear to God I heard something. Good thing I'm always strapped, huh?
Do the best that we can to try to protect working class people, to make sure that the United States not only does not throw people off of health care, but ends the absurdity of being the only major country on earth that doesn't guarantee health care to all people. We got a lot of work to do. But to be honest with you, tonight was not a good night. Thank you.
I'm very upset about this news. Was it a kitty? I don't have a cat. So, who knows? I will say there was a funny little woodpecker pecking on my window earlier today. That was pretty funny. I was like freaked out because I was shaving and I heard like click, 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 like knock, 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 bump, 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 thump, thump, thump on the side of my house. I'm like, what the fuck is that noise? I'm like going to both my doors, like looking out the window, like what the fuck? And then I go into my bedroom. No, my mom's in California. I go into my bedroom and I notice that there's like a shadow over the blinds. I'm like, what the fuck's outside that window? So I open the window, I open the blinds, and I look through the window, and there was a woodpecker, like a 1.5 pound heavy bird, hanging from the top of the windowsill outside, pecking on the house. Like trying to get inside of like my attic to make a nest or something. And I think it's because I feed the woodpeckers every day. Like I've been feeding them for years now, and I think they're trying to burrow into my house and make a home there because I've been feeding these things so much. They spend most of their day in my yard, so it makes sense. Maybe go check? Oh no, trust me. My house is creaky. If there was actually someone in my house, I'd have heard them. I'd have heard them pretty darn good. And then on top of that, I mean, if someone is in my house, I mean, I'm heavily, heavily armed. Y'all wouldn't want to miss me doing some castle doctrine, right? Don't want to do that off stream. Come on. Anyway, continuing on though, all memes aside, this is an article from the Daily Beast, because it's not just like Bernie Sanders and your based Democrats, the ones that we know are based, that are calling this out. I know a lot of you guys have largely underinformed and negative opinions of Gavin Newsom, which is going to be very frustrating when he inevitably ends up being a presidential candidate in the future, because he very well might end up being the nominee if he ends up running against other Democrats in a primary. And if he ends up being the one that we have to vote for over some fascist Republican down the road, I just know I'm going to get into a lot of arguments with my chat about why, yes, you do still need to vote for Newsom against insert Republican Nazi. But Gavin Newsom blasts the betrayal of Americans after capitulation vote to end shutdown. California Governor Gavin Newsom accused the moderate Democrats who voted on a deal that could end the shutdown of a capitulation and a betrayal of working Americans. Gavin Newsom has accused the Senate Democrats who voted for a deal that could end the longest federal government shutdown in history of betraying American workers. On Sunday, the Senate took the first step to end the shutdown with a 60-40 preliminary vote to move toward passing compromise legislation to fund the government. A group of moderate Democrats agreed to proceed without a guaranteed extension of health care subsidies. The move has sparked outrage among many in their caucus who believe that Americans want them to continue the fight. Newsom was among them. The California governor took to X to express his fury on Sunday. Tonight's Senate vote on the federal government shutdown should have been a time for strength, he wrote. Instead, we saw capitulation and a betrayal of working-class Americans. The American people need more from their leaders. The governor's official press office account also blasted the vote, writing, "Pathetic. This isn't a deal, it's a surrender. Don't bend the knee. Sunday's test vote is the first in a series of required procedural maneuvers." Listen, guys, say what you want about Newsom. Well, actually, don't say what you want about Newsom, because it's probably wrong based on what I see a lot of you guys say. Whenever I hear a negative statement about a Democrat from a fellow lefty, I just Google it. Just quick little Google fact check. More often than not, it's just made up. Ironically, a rumor that originated from the right more often than not. But that said, I do think it's important to recognize that this is a big switch up for the Democratic Party. Like, I remember 8 years ago, the Democrats were a lot more neoliberal, to say the least, okay? Like, Joe Biden's platform, when he ran for president, was so much less progressive than when he was president. How many people made that connection? The difference between Democrats during the primaries in 2019 compared to the Democrats during the, in 2020 and 2019 lead up, and how the Democrats are today. It's night and day. Like, it's unbelievable. Like, the Democrats of 2020 and 2019 were so hostile to anyone who is progressive, especially going back to 2016, how hostile they were to Bernie. It was so much hostility towards progressive politics, less so as a principled statement and more so as a, like, practical measure. Like, yeah, we like progressive politics, but you guys are too radical. You're going to make us all look bad. And there was, like, you could feel the disdain that more moderate Democrats had for hyper-progressive Dems because they were leeching support towards their group, but they also perceived it as making them look bad, like making them look too radical. And we could feel the disdain they had for people like Bernie, people like AOC for a time. And now it feels as though most of the Democratic Party has been so radicalized by Trump or so pushed into the corner by Trump that there's just really only one way to go, and that's arguably somewhat radical action against Trump, that now we've got, of the entire Democratic Party, 8 motherfuckers who are basically Republicans anyway, who are not understanding the assignment, who now the whole rest of the Democratic Party hates and is slamming. The potential next presidential Democrat candidate is currently slamming these 8 Democrats. As a matter of fact, because I want to make sure we nail home the 8 Democrats who did this, just in case any of you guys live in their states and you want to give them a call, maybe, I'm going to go through the list of names. Obviously, there's Fetterman, but I want to make sure we get all of them in terms of, like, if any of you guys live in the, fucking hell, the paywalls. I noticed Google is always putting the paywall news at the very top. Always at the very top. Don't worry, guys. It's going to take me a minute. I'm trying to find news about, news that is for the left, so it's going to be really hard. Google deboosts any news that helps the left. The Democrats who backed Republican shutdown deal and why. Here we go. 7 Senate Democrats plus 1 independent voted on Sunday to support a Republican deal to reopen the U.S. government. The defections broke a week-long deadlock during which the Democratic Party resisted pressure to end the longest ever U.S. shutdown. During that period, the main reason the Democratic senators gave for refusing to back a funding deal was the expiry of healthcare subsidies, which they said would hit millions of households. So who are the group who sided with the Republicans, and what have they said to justify crossing the floor? The first is Tim Kaine. The first thing to say about them all is that none of them faces re-election in 2026, and Virginia Senator Kaine is no different. Known to many as Hillary Clinton's running mate in 2016, he said he backed the Republican deal because it would protect workers and set the U.S. on a path towards fixing Republicans' healthcare mess. His state is home to about 300,000 federal employees, many of whom are off work without pay because of the shutdown. Well, keep in mind, by the way, many of those federal employees who were Democrats were fired from their jobs permanently by Trump for being Democrats. So yeah, apparently a lot of these Democrats are not looking at needing to worry about getting reelected, I guess. Not for a time, so they're not even, like, freaked out. He said, this legislation will protect federal workers from baseless firings, reinstate those who have been wrongfully terminated during the shutdown, and ensure federal workers receive their back pay. As required by a law, he literally brags and says, by a law I got passed in 2019. Your words mean nothing. You're a coward, bro. Tim Kaine, your words mean absolutely nothing. Jean Shaheen, the New Hampshire senator, who was one of the architects of the deal that advanced on Sunday. She praised it as one that restores a cross-party spending process, including funds for good assistance and health care for military veterans. Weeks of negotiation with Republicans have made clear that they will not address health care as part of shutdown talks, and that waiting longer will only prolong the pain Americans are feeling because of the shutdown, she said. Maggie Hassan, New Hampshire's other senator. Fuck New Hampshire, by the way. Basically, like, the reddest blue state. You know, like, it's pretty blue, because, like, way up north, and it's, like, on the coast, kinda-ish. You know, it's New England. But it's still really rural, really conservative, despite having a lot of Democrats elected. The Democrats from New Hampshire don't tend to be great. New Hampshire is kind of chuddy. It's like if you just took a state in the American South and shoved it up into New England, more or less. New Jersey's a little similar in that way, but less so. I think New Hampshire's got it worse. Anyway, my vote today was to do two things, both equally, morally, important and imperative, she said. Hassan spoke of the importance of functioning government, so that our kids eat, so that our elderly citizens eat, so that our air traffic controllers can get sleep and earn money, get paid while they're working, so that our veterans are protected. Well, a whole lot of those groups are about to lose their health care or see it multiply in its expense for premiums because of what you just did. So, fuck you, Maggie Hassan. You are a coward and your words mean nothing. Catherine Cortez Masto. Masto, of Nevada, had already voted more than a dozen times to reopen the government. We have federal workers that are suffering, she said after Sunday's vote. We have airport controllers, and we are seeing lines to our food banks in northern Nevada. These were lines that I hadn't been seen since the pandemic. That is literally Donald Trump doing that. Those food lines were people desperate to get by because Donald Trump was refusing to manually approve funding for a program that would provide them with the funds they need to get food. And then, of course, we've got John Fetterman. We all love John Fetterman these days, don't we, huh? Like Masto, Fetterman had been voting to open the government since last month. He's always been cringe since the start on this. The centrist Democrat, representing Pennsylvania, said, after 40 days as a consistent voice against shutting down our government, I voted yes for the 15th time to reopen. I'm sorry to our military, SNAP recipients, gov workers. You're sorry to the SNAP recipients? Really? Really? Because Donald Trump's going to be going after that program ASAP after the government reopens. Shut the fuck up. Gov workers and Capitol Police who haven't been paid in weeks. It should have never come to this. This was a failure. Check Donald Trump's plummeting approval ratings and you tell me if that's a failure. Though to be fair, Fetterman would call this a failure because it hurt Donald Trump. And Fetterman's goal is to help Donald Trump. So actually he is being truthful in some ways there. Jackie Rosen. Rosen wasn't previously among Democrats who had been voting with Republicans to reopen the government. She clashed with Nevada's Republican governor, Joe Lombardo, after he wrote her a letter urging her to help end the shutdown. Rosen said in a statement, "The concession we've been able to extract to get closer to extending the Affordable Care Act tax credits is a vote on a bill drafted and negotiated by Senate Democrats. This bill will not pass, by the way. It is unanimously agreed upon by Republicans and Democrats outside of this group of 6 that this bill, that's supposedly going to save the ACA without the shutdown, will not get through. It's not even going to get seen on the floor. It's going to get shot down by Mike Johnson, I'm pretty sure." She was referring to the fact that a deal approved on Sunday includes an agreement for a vote in December on extending healthcare subsidies that are due to expire this year, a key issue for Democrats. They're not going to let this get through. The Republican leader of the Senate, sorry, it's John Thune, because the Speaker of the House, House Speaker Mike Johnson, Senate Leader John Thune, my bad, I mixed them up, said last month he had offered Democrats a vote on the subsidies. Yeah, John Thune's not letting it make it to the floor, though. It's not going to work. Like everybody, Democrat and Republican, has come out to say it's not going to work. So, next we have Dick Durbin, who's quite the dick if I do say so myself after hearing this news. Illinois' Durbin, who serves as the Democratic whip in the Senate, was the only member of the party's leadership who voted with Republicans for the deal. This guy seems like a real problem. Democrat Party leadership and basically a conservative? Not big on that. In doing so, he broke with the Democratic minority leader in the Senate, Chuck Schumer. Quote, "This bill is not perfect, but it takes important steps to reduce their shutdown's hurt," Durbin explained in a statement. "Now that Democrats secured these wins, it's time for Leader Thune to keep his promise to schedule a vote on the ACA tax credits in December." Thune is not going to hold the vote on the ACA tax credits, and you know it. You know he's not going to allow the vote to be held in the Senate. It's going to get shot down. It is going to die before it reaches the floor of the Senate. We all know it will. These Democrats who are trying to pretend like they're naive enough to believe that the Republicans in Senate will allow this are hilarious. They're hilarious if they think we actually believe they are that naive after having been in politics as long as they have. Unbelievable. This is them giving up on the fight. They want to look like they're still fighting by talking about this tax credit thing that isn't even going to make it to the Senate floor. It's all a virtue signal to cover for the fact that they are responsible for giving up on the fight to preserve the ACA. And then, of course, there is Angus King. King is an independent who caucuses with Democrats, helped negotiate the deal to arrange a vote on tax credits for the Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare, once the government reopens. He has a track record of working across the aisle and had helped put together this compromise during meetings in recent weeks. King said in a statement, "The sum is we are closer to the possibility of work on the ACA tax credits for the people of this country than we were yesterday, than we were a week ago, 2 weeks ago, or a month ago. So this agreement tonight is a win for the American people. I assure you we are not any fucking closer. Thune is not going to let it slide." This is terrible news, but at the end of the day, we don't want to doom her too hard. I needed to get my anger out a little bit. I wanted to call out these Democrats and independent so that they knew, we're watching them. We're going to be keeping this in mind next time it's time for us to go to the polls and vote. I hope they know that we will not forget. And I hope that you guys don't forget either. That said, try not to doom her. Do try to stay optimistic. Look at this situation and try to find ways in which we can turn this into a W in the long run. That's what I recommend for all of you. Don't be angry. Don't be doomer. Well, actually, don't be doomer. Be angry. Exactly. Anyway, folks. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like, comment, hype, and subscribe. And I will see y'all next time.